How to write an executive summary for your RFP that actually wins. That's what I'm going to cover off in this video. And we're going to be leveraging AI in crafting the perfect executive summary. I'm going to be providing a structured breakdown of 6 core principles and concepts your executive summary for the RFP needs to include to win. And of course, I'm going to be giving you some don'ts for your RFP. My name's Rob. I've bid and won hundreds of RFPs across global technology companies, and I work at AI RFP software, AutoRFP.ai. In today's video, I'm going to be going through it not just using AutoRFP, but how you can use AI in general across your favorite tools like Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot to win RFPs, starting with your executive summary. So how to write a killer exec summary. Technical evaluators skim your architecture section. Legal reads the T's and C's. There's one page they all read, the executive summary. We did a survey with Stargazy, a bid manager community, over 100 plus winning bid teams on what they do differently to win more RFPs. The high win teams have a median shortlist rate of 63% versus low win teams that have a 38% shortlist rate. There were 2 concepts that I'll share later in this video about what these teams do differently in relation to the executive summary that help them secure those higher shortlist rates. But first, the point of an exec summary, it sets the lens every evaluator will score you through. It earns the attention as they are first diving into the RFP response. It helps you tell the story, incorporating your win themes as to what you want to be present and focused on in your RFP. And it spotlights your strengths against scoring criteria. That is one of the core parts, is scoring criteria. You want to not forget that an exec summary isn't great because it feels right or it's overly marketing. It needs to be related to the scoring criteria or however that RFP is going to be evaluated. So what are the 2 things that high win teams with their higher shortlist rates, or double that of the low win teams, what are the 2 things they do differently? 1, high win teams use win themes at almost double the rate. And 2, they have a defined customer insight process. I'm going to break down both of those, but the really big thing is, and this comes directly from the proposal win rate report, is that relationships help you win access, so knowing the right people, but insight helps you win. The proposal win rate report, I've chucked a link in the description below. What are the 6 things that you have to focus on in your exec summary? A decision statement in 1 to 2 sentences. Why you should be picked. What does your entire proposal boil down to? What is your competitive advantage? And make that really easy to digest. It's sometimes the hardest sentences to write in the entire RFP. But if you've built it along with customer insights and strong win themes, hopefully this is a lot easier to pull together that strategic narrative you've had throughout the entire proposal. Customer situation and stakes. So what is their current situation? How do you understand that world? And what are the pain points they currently have? And what are the stakes for getting the wrong or right solution? Your approach, really high level. That might be features, it might be services, it might be products, it might be implementation, whatever is relevant to your approach and how you are going to implement said solution for their problem. Differentiators, 3 to 5 core win themes tied to proof. You don't want it to come across as highly marketing speak, but this could be places where you can add in social proof or relevant customers or industry expertise of your team who are going to be working with the client, but make it sure that it's not just flowery language, but it's features, it's services, it's products, it's expertise, it's social proof that actually relays back why those differentiators are true and why they're important differentiators as well. Then is delivery and risk control. And then last one is commercial framing and next step. The next step could be as easy as a sign off from the CEO and looking forward to already the stated next step from the RFP process. So now, what are the things to not put in your executive summary? Opening with your company history. This is so often seen is the exact same executive summary for every single RFP you do, which when a reader then goes to open your RFP, and if this is the first page they're reading, is pretty deflating and sets the tone for what they're expecting for this entire RFP. If anything, I would do the entire RFP first and then do the exec summary. Once you have all your win, it needs to tie back into that customer insight and win themes. Features instead of outcomes are just using overly technical language that only you understand. You want to put into the words of the buyer, and even better, read through their RFP. What language do they use? And map your internal language to their language to make it even easier for them to digest and read. Claims the proposal can't back up. If you write something in the exec summary, it's the only time they ever read it is in the exec summary. It's not anywhere else. That's a good sign that you've just written something for the sake of it, and it may not have any relevance to the RFP, and you can't back up that claim. Subject matter experts holding the pen. So as bid managers, proposal writers, RFP completers, you want to make sure you are the one pulling together that strategic narrative and not letting a design by committee approach for the exec summary. We actually found on that same report, the proposal win rate report, that 94% of high win teams have joint collaboration with their SMEs, or the proposal team writes and the SME team reviews. Hardly ever do high win teams have a subject matter expert write something from scratch. So you can definitely write it and get other team members to review, but you need to be in control of that exec summary and the final output of that exec summary. So with all that in mind, let's go into 3 examples. Here is an exec summary based on as if AutoRFP responding to an RFP of a fake company, and I have pulled it together and tied in those 6 core elements to highlight and give you an example of what that looks like. But effectively, we've got that decision statement. It doesn't actually have to necessarily come out at the start, but here we see, here we believe AutoRFP is the strongest fit for this evaluation for 3 reasons. Now, that could be more punchier, but ultimately, you're using that as a line break to lead into the meat and potatoes, which is the approach and win themes tied to those proof. So here's 3 reasons that we're differentiating why, based off this customer insights and what we understand of the prospect, why we should be chosen. And then there's the proof for that. For instance, global by default, AutoRFP, we have global offices. Why that's important to them, because they have Frankfurt and Singapore teams, different time zones. They need 24/6 support, which we offer. And they also do across multiple languages for RFPs, which AutoRFP can do translation with AI and everything else. Then we've got our customer situation and stakes. What I really like about this executive summary, it opens with the customer's name. It doesn't open with AutoRFP. If you are writing an exec summary and almost every line starts with I, we, or my company's name, that's generally a bit of an amber flag that maybe to reread that and instead think about writing it for the customer, not writing it for yourselves. The next one, same kind of thing. We read the weighting behind this evaluation as accuracy and auditability first, workflow second, generation speed and a distant third. That ordering matches how AutoRFP was built. Effectively, we're saying your evaluation criteria of what you think is important is how we built our product, which makes a lot of sense and puts it in line with the buyer's frame of reference that everything that we're going to put forward, for instance, every answer is traceable, is accuracy and auditability first. Governance built in, helping with workflow control and generation. And then we actually talk about deployment your IT team can approve. So we're talking about IT security and so on, which may be a competitive differentiator for us in this example for this particular bid. Here we talk about what we understand about the fake company. This is an investment firm and they're doing this many DDQs and RFPs. And we understand what's behind that and why they are looking for a solution. Phase rollout helps reduce risk. So it talks about a particular implementation methodology. Then we go into next steps and commercials as well. My third example. So Here we've put it a bit more together. Again, all of these you can see have a bolded sentence, and then there we could actually make this a lot more readable by doing something like this, like that. And you can just make everything a lot more readable and easier to write, depending on how that RFP has come across. So what makes sense to your company's brand voice? You want to make this as readable as possible so someone can skim it or they can read it in detail really easily and fluidly to get the main points across without having to spend a lot of time reading the entire thing. This one goes in detail, talks about discovery call, understanding their world. This proposal about giving what time back without putting answers quality at risk. So a punchy line there. So if you want to know how I actually generated these exec summaries for my fake companies, I used a skill. A skill is something that can be uploaded to your agent, your AI system of choice, for instance, Claude, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and then used to repeat a common step that you would have in part of your process. In this example, completing an RFP, I'd often have to do an exec summary. And so we have our exec summary generator, which you can get off our website. The link is in the description below. Lets you create an exec summary with the same 6 points that I covered off earlier and that I covered off in the examples to routinely generate exec summaries. What I will say with AI is you need to be really pointed where AI actually fits. So 65% of high wins teams use AI proposal tech, for instance, AutoRFP.ai, but AI should be the accelerator, not the engine. What I mean by that is it should help you do your job quicker, more efficient, and that is to free up your time to have more time for a higher quality response. We've all been there where we don't have enough time to really put that final polish or the initial research that we want to put in for that RFP. That's where AI can help, is to free you up to have that time to do those things or to supplement part of your process with AI. But ultimately, you are the decider of taste and you decide what is a great exec summary. So you can feed the RFP 4 different things: the RFP itself, your win themes, your call notes, your completed responses, and all that context to really help build together like a research plan, win themes, and exec summary for the RFP. You can, of course, do this all in AutoRFP. We're an AI RFP software. We've got our project agent that you can see here. I've asked to generate win themes for me and generate an exec summary. And then it's built an exec summary automatically with its MCP connectors into other tools and based off the context of my RFP. And then the final note I want to leave you on is that most teams lose RFPs because their system is perfectly designed to produce the results they currently achieve. So if you have an exec summary that's been the same for the last 40, 50 RFPs you've done, and it's the same cookie cutter exec summary, and you're finding you have low win rates, it's a good place to look. Thank you, everyone. My name's Rob. I hope that was a helpful video on how you can generate executive summaries with AI.